Perfect. Perfect. All right. So today, guys, we're actually getting into some mysteries kind of stuff, getting little bit away from the conspiracies. We know you love this ledger. It's your favorite. Kind of a cryptid, I'd say, in its own. Yeah, no, it is. But yeah, just going through the news and everything as well. Interesting world we're living in, isn't it? Everyone, make sure to leave YouTube and go to Rumble. It'll be posted in the video. You'll be able to see it right there. So like us up on there. Some of the best content creators of YouTube are actually leaving in droves. And wink, wink, we're one of them. So let's get into this. All right. So this story actually starts with a family known as the Bell family. And the Bell family lived in the early 1800s. John Bell moved his family from North Carolina to the Red River Bottomland in Robertson County, Tennessee, settling in the Red River community, which later became the present day Adams, Tennessee. Bell purchased some land and a large house for his family. Now, over the next several years, he acquired more land, increasing his holdings to 328 acres, and cleared a number of fields for planting. He also became an elder of the Red River Baptist Church. John and his wife, Lucy Bell, had three more children after moving to Tennessee. The Bells had a very happy and successful early life at the Red River settlement. One day, though, in 1817, John Bell was inspecting his cornfield when he encountered a strange looking animal sitting in the middle of a corn row. Shocked by the appearance of this animal, which had the body of a dog and the head of a rabbit, allegedly, Bell shot several times near the animal, which then ultimately vanished. Bell thought nothing more of the incident, at least not until after dinner, because that evening the family began hearing beating sounds on the outside walls of their log home. So let me know at the point in time, guys, when this story reminds you of any other stories we've gone through over this channel. So the mysterious sounds continued with increased frequency and force each night. Bell and his sons often hurried outside to catch the culprit, but always returned empty handed. It would disappear. In the weeks that followed, the Bell children began walking up frightened, complaining that rats were gnawing at their bedposts. Not long after that, the children began complaining of having their bed covers pulled from them and their pillows tossed onto the floor by a seemingly invisible entity. Now, as time went on, the Bells began hearing faint, whispering voices, which too weak to understand, but sounded like a feeble old woman singing hymns. The encounters escalated, and the Bell's youngest daughter, Betsy Bell, began experiencing brutal encounters with the invisible entity. It would pull her hair and slap her relentlessly, often leaving welts and handprints on her face and body. The disturbances, about which John Bell had vowed his family to secrecy, finally escalated to the point that he shared his family trouble with his closest friend and neighbor, James Johnston.
Is this like Poltergeist?
That's what it sounds
Or,
like, doesn't it? Starts sounding like the poltergeist that's
right.
starting to mess with the daughter. Noises, things
Mm,
they can't see, can't catch. A lot like
paranormal
that.
activity. Yeah.
So, skeptical at first, Johnston and his wife spent the night at the Bell home. Things began peacefully, but once they retired for the evening, they were subjected to the same terrifying disturbances that the Bells had been experiencing. After their bed covers were yanked off and James was slapped, he sprang out of bed, exclaiming, "In the name of the Lord, who are you and what do you want?" The entity did not respond. The rest of the night was peaceful, and the next morning, Mr. Johnson explained to the Bells that the culprit was likely an evil spirit, the kind that the Bible talks about.
Is this an off-brand Conjuring?
Hey, right. So it does sound like that. It reminds me, seriously, it reminds me of Jeff the Mongoose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like the mongoose where he was making noises and they couldn't find it and they could hear things in the walls, outside of the walls, all sorts of stuff, and that it was critters.
Maybe it's all of them. All the things Conjuring, paranormal activity, and Jeff the Talking Mongoose just messing with this one family.
Yeah, it sounds like paranormal activity. It sounds like all sorts of stuff, right? To me, I get a real hard feeling of the poltergeist activity with this one, especially because it started
Hey,
affecting his daughter, and that it seems to always
um,
happen with the daughters.
maybe it's some Skinwalker Ranch type deal.
Right, that feel as well because it's on a large property. Like it's
Yep.
he did attain quite a bit of property, so keep that in mind as well. The property, however, this, my friends, this is the story as close to the original story as we can get, though, of the Bell Witch. So The entity's voice strengthened over time and became loud and unmistakable. It sang hymns, quoted scripture, carried on intelligent conversation, and once even quoted word for word two sermons that were preached at the same time on the same day, 13 miles apart. Word of the supernatural phenomena soon spread outside the settlement, even in Nashville, where then Major General Andrew Jackson became interested in the so-called Bell Witch. John Bell Jr., along with his brothers Drury Bell and Jesse Bell, had fought under General Jackson in the Battle of New Orleans. A few years later, in 1819, Jackson heard about the disturbances at the Bell home and decided to pay a visit and investigate. As Jackson's entourage, consisting of several men, well-groomed horses, and a large wagon, approached the Bell property, the wagon jolted to a sudden stop. It had become stuck in a muddy creek bed, and the horses were unable to pull it. At least that's what the men had thought. Now, after several minutes of cursing and trying to coax the horses into pulling the wagon, Jackson proclaimed, "By the eternal, boys, that must be the Bell Witch." Then suddenly, a disembodied female voice told Jackson that they could proceed and that she would see them again later that evening. They were then able to proceed across the property, up the lane, and to the Bell home. That evening, Jackson told old war stories while his entourage shut up their tents in John and Lucy Bell's yard. Now, one of the men claimed to be a witch tamer. However, after several uneventful hours, he pulled out a shiny pistol and proclaimed that its silver bullet would kill any evil spirit that it came in contact with. He went on to say that the reason nothing was happening to them was because whatever had been haunting the Bells was scared of the silver bullet. Immediately, though, the man screamed and began jerking his body in different directions, complaining that he was being stuck with pins and beaten severely. A strong, swift kick to the man's posterior region from an invisible foot sent him out the front door. Angry, the entity spoke up and announced that there was yet another fraud in Jackson's party, and that she would identify him the following evening. Now terrified, Jackson's men begged to leave the Bell farm. Jackson insisted on staying. He wanted to know who the other fraud was. The men eventually went outside to sleep in their tents while continuously begging Jackson to leave and leave with them. What happened next is not clear, but Jackson and his entourage were spotted in nearby Springfield early the next morning, going back to Nashville. Some allege that Jackson later proclaimed, "I would rather fight the British in New Orleans than fight the Bell Witch." So, guys, it seems that if this story is true, something intense started happening. Something intense that started scaring a group of soldiers to the point, that a couple of them were like, "I am a witch catcher. I'm this, I'm that." And all of a sudden they start going, "Oh, yeah, I'm not. Okay, I'm out of here." Freaking them out. Happens a lot when you listen to a couple of the stories with the Warrens, right? And how certain people claim to be professional this, professional that, and all of a sudden they're running out of the house. It happens today in this age as well with ghost hunters, demonologists. So, and it happens a lot with poltergeists is my thing with this. It really does happen a lot with poltergeists because there's no way to contain, manipulate, or discharge that kind of energy. That entity is one of a kind in of itself. It's very interesting. Crazy stories. We don't know exactly what's true and what's not. However, the entire essence of the story is supposed to be based in fact. Maybe not all the details, but the essence of it. Something was happening that was freaking people out. And this story is famous and important because it was never really solved, but yet so many people are actually a part of it. A lot of times it's just, oh, we're hearing these parts from the family. This family actually opened their doors and they were in a small enough community and religious community that everyone came together and started experiencing these things. So that's what makes this one different than the others. All right. So the disturbances eventually decreased, but the entity continued to express disdain for John Bell, relentlessly vowing to kill him. Bell had been experiencing episodes of twitching in his face and difficulty swallowing for almost a year. Now, by the fall of 1820, his declining health had confined him to the house, where the malicious entity continuously removed his shoes when he tried to walk and slapped his face when he would recover from his numerous seizures. Her shrill voice was heard all over the farm, cursing and chastising old Jack Bell, allegedly the nickname she had given him. Now, on the morning of December 19th, 1820, the family was unable to wake John from his sleep. He had effectively fallen into a coma. One of his sons had run to the medicine cabinet, and all of the medicine had disappeared, all except a vial of dark liquid they had never seen before. The family immediately called for a doctor to come to their house, and upon his arrival, he did not know how to help John, but had his suspicions about the vial and knew that they should test it and test that liquid in the vial on an animal to see its effects. So John Jr. sprinkled 2 drops on a stray cat's tongue, and the cat jumped up into the air, flipped around, and was dead there shortly. John Bell died the following day. Now, everything seemed to stop after that. Some neighbors reported seeing strange lights around the property, as well as a strange voice that would sing. And John's wife, Lucy, stayed at the house until 1838 when she passed away. Now, the house no longer exists on the property as a whole. However, there is an underground cave on that property that does still exist. And that cave, to this day, people swear that whatever had tormented the Bell family, it came from that cave, the cave of the Bell Witch. So, what do you guys think about that? Have you ever heard of this story? Does it remind you of any other witch stories, or is it?
Where is this cave?
It's on the property of the Bell family.
No, I mean like, but where at in the United States?
Oh, it's Tennessee, present day Adams, Tennessee. Adams, Tennessee. Which this gets into whole kind of crazy stuff
Hey,
because allegedly, whatever great aliens are, they're supposedly living underground as well.
you want to go to their
I want to
house?
go visit. I don't know what the rules on that are, but this could be a whole missing 411 kind of situation, tying it into the landscape. I'm sure there's water, underground cave. No really missing people here, but like you said earlier, the Skinwalker Ranch type of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Present hauntings, and
Mm-hmm.
I guess this they people still see stuff today. They still hear stuff. They still see things. They try to take cameras and take pictures out there and video, and it'll be like blurry, or they'll see orbs and stuff. It's pretty intense. So I guess it's still actively happening today. It's like almost been 200 years.